All right, we're ready to roll. Sorry if we're a little late. We're having a, it's like a pre-party before the show. I remember watching like some Pantera videos, and there was one time where Pantera was 1995. It was the end of their tour, and they got on stage like fucking so late. And Phil gets up there and he's like so drunk. He's like, I'm sorry, we're just backstage partying with White Zombie, blah blah blah. And then they get up and they like party. And I feel like that's what we were just doing right now. Like sorry we're a little bit late, but we were just having some very fun conversations backstage with the guests of honor. So real quick to the chat. Hey, Leandro, Herrenberg.
Yes.
John,
Nice.
what's up, brothers? Thank you for joining us. And I need to find a way to make Herrenberg a mod. I'm going to do that at some point.
Mike? Awesome.
When I get a chance, when we bring our guests on, I'll have a little bit of time to kind of back away, and I'll do some directing of the show so Sean can take over.
Right.
What's up, Michael Green? So Sean, how you doing, man? It's Friday night.
Doing great. Yeah, doing great. Can't complain.
Yeah, you look like you're doing pretty good.
Yeah, I feel good, man.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get started. Welcome everybody to the
Art and Stuff Show. I'm Sean Ahrendt, and with me is my brother, Not.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was reading comments. Yeah, I fucked that up. The very attractive, very sexy, very distinguished. Always narcissistic, but never vain. A staunch defender of Rob Liefeld and a lover of all things 90s. Joseph Michael Sonntag, or Joam Sonntag, if you prefer, as the Pope likes to call me, JMS. And woke Twitter fans out there that like to attack me, I'm your god, motherfuckers. I beat your motherfucking ass every goddamn day, and I love it. That's just personal stuff. I'm getting off that now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, Elliot.
Hey, Elliot. All right, guys, we are going to jump in here. Thank you so much, Jerry. All right, you guys are rolling in now. I love it. I love it. All right, here we go. So I know Sean doesn't like when I do this because I put him on the spot, and he hates being on the spot, but I love putting him on the spot. It's just something. I love it. I love watching him work. He is the hype guy. So we're going to bring on our first guest. We're going to bring out our first guest here, and then we're going to bring out our second blood brother, and then we're going to get rolling. So, Sean, going to you.
Our first blood brother is Marat Mychaels, the original Image rookie.
That was it?
Yeah, come on. Let's get the show started. I want to talk to you guys.
All right. Marat Mychaels. Boom!
Next time, big clock around your chest and like hype it up. Like that was whack.
That's what I'm saying.
No, I want to get on the show.
No, soft, son, you're soft.
My bad. I'm a cunt.
Hey, guys, how y'all doing?
Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
My pleasure. This is always fun hanging out with you guys, and always good to kind of see Fraga, because I won't like actually hang, but kind of see and talk. So it'll be fun.
Well, you're welcome on our behalf. So
thank you. Thanks for having me.
And I want to say real quick to everybody in the chat, if anybody wants to be moderators, hit me up. I will make you a mod. Herrenberg is a great moderator, and he'll drop links and he'll do all that good stuff. So thank you so much for everybody helping us out with the stream. We're learning as we go, and I think we're growing. So
well, Joe is, and I am.
All right. So we got Marat Mychaels, the first of the Blood Brothers here, and
here he is.
We're gonna jump into that whole story, but we're gonna bring on a very good friend of the show and someone that's been a giant supporter of us and really pushed us in a lot of ways to do bigger and better things. It's always a pleasure to have him on. We're gonna bring on. Yeah, you see, I'm hype. I'm gonna hype without going crazy overboard. So that just pay attention. Watch what I'm doing here, Sean. I'll show you how I'm saying it. The second Image rookie, one of the first hires of Extreme Studios, Dan Fraga.
Welcome,
brother.
My man right there.
Zoom. Give me some room.
So good to see you, brother, man. What was the last time? Vegas?
Yeah, it's been a while. Was it Vegas or was it Connecticut?
Terrificon. Yep. That's it. 2018 or 19. 2000. I don't know.
Yeah.
Too long though. Too long.
They all kind of flow in together. So.
That's true. Yeah. That's true.
That's awesome. We can get you guys back together on our show because we've been giant fans of both your guys' work since I was a little kid. You know, like Blood Strike.
We were little kids.
Brigade. Yeah, you know, I mean, it's funny because the age difference wasn't that much. You know, you guys, Dan, you started really young. Marat, you were really young, and then we were just, you know, like that class behind you guys, just following you. And I never knew you were so young when I was getting into your work. Which, if I had, that might have been a little bit more inspiring for me to actually work on my craft more than I did, and just trying to learn how to figure out how to draw boobs and stuff all the time. You know, I could actually focused.
Anytime with boobs. Anytime with boobs is good.
Well, I was really good at it when I was younger. I could draw the shit out of the tits.
Oh, look at you, braggadocious.
I couldn't draw a face for anything, you know, but
right.
I could draw those boobs.
Yeah, man. No, to your point, you know, when I saw Rob's stuff and heard about his story and how he came in kind of young, he was one of those guys that you're like, wait, you know, this is could be real, you know, like it, you know, you see guys like John Byrne who broke in at 24, and same with McFarlane. And when you're a kid, especially in high school, when you're the most sort of like unsure but want it, you know, that 24 seems like forever away. But when you hear like someone broke in when they were 18, you're like, oh my God,
right?
You know, maybe I can do it. Yeah, it's exciting stuff, man.
Dude, I remember being right around 18, and you know, the sucky thing was that I would read so many stories of like the Image guys, Rob, Jim, Mark, but specifically like Rob. I think Jim was kind of young. I think they're fairly similar age, I think, but specifically
Jim was a lot older. Jim was like 20 something.
Was he? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, specifically Rob, then I would read all these articles of, you know, Image and how it's killing it, and like they'd toss around these stories of like being millionaires and stuff, just like having all this much money. And I would look at their age at that point. I was 18. I would look at myself and I'd be like, man, I got to break in like within the next 2 years, or I'm going to be a failure. That was just kind of my
right. The reverse.
Like, yeah, I was like, these guys are so young and they've done so much. You know, at some point, I'm going to start, you know, missing my window. And unfortunately, I had that thought process for years. That older I got the more
misinformation was or I don't know if it's misinformation or misinterpretation of information was crucial back then, because like, you know, I don't know if you guys, well, you said staunch defender of Rob Liefeld, so you probably listen to Robservation.
Oh, all the time.
And when he was talking, one of the things that was very interesting for him to bring up, because I've brought it up myself in discussions, is the Wizard Top 10 lists, and what it did for us young guys, because that to us breaking in seemed, you know, like, I don't know if you're a hot sauce fan. I am. And the way you rank hot sauces with the Scoville, but before Scoville, you would go, well, you know, it's hot or it's not. And that was it. And Wizard Magazine was kind of like, at least to us, the Scoville. Like, we didn't buy into that it was payola for a while. We thought it was, what do I got to do? You know,
right.
and
definitely skewed perspective on what we were doing.
In the motivations, you know, like that's the thing, you know, I talk about this on my stream all the time, but, you know, when I was the happiest drawing comics is 1989, 1990, 1991, and 2020. And the reason for that is I was drawing with this sort of like, it made me feel good to do it. And when I was doing it for that period of time, it very much felt like you're in a contest with rules that aren't necessarily ones that like you want to play. You know,
I got you.
You're not drawing based on your instincts. You're drawing based on what you think will sell, what you think will get attention, and then what is coming out on the page becomes difficult and almost anxiety. It creates anxiety for you because it's not truthful. You know what I'm saying? Like if anybody decided like, nah, fuck it, I'm just gonna draw like the way I want to draw, not what's gonna sell, not what's going to make Rob think this is hot, not what's going to make, the guys in the studio bug out.
Right.
What I want to draw. You know what I'm saying? So it's anyway, going back to the steering the shit back to the original point. It's just misinformation and sort of motivations. It's like what we get to do for a living is fucking magic.
Right.
It's magic. We get to pull things out of our heads, put them on paper, and share them with the world.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, with the concept of that aspect is just awesome. That's why the whole history of comics, the the behind the scenes aspect. That's why I like Rob's podcast so much, because he really dives into the back scene of everything.
Yeah.
And that was something that always really interested me as a kid, because I wanted to be in the business so bad that anytime I had a chance to read articles about like Extreme Studios or whatever, it didn't matter. And it just talked about the atmosphere and the bullpen and like all this stuff. Like that's what I was really interested in. And that was really what sucked me into comic books, besides just the aspect that I loved drawing and creating. I wanted to be in that atmosphere with a bunch of fun guys creating a bunch of work, and just goofing off and having time. And like,
I don't want to do that again.
I don't want to do it right now, but
I wouldn't want to do a bullpen again. Well, maybe if with the mindset I have now, I could do it, but the mindset I had back then, I don't know. Like one of my favorite guys is Byrne. John Byrne. He was like he's like my gateway to comics as far as like wanting to be a comic artist. And he said he gets up, he doesn't even turn on the radio, doesn't turn on music, doesn't turn on anything. He just sits at his board and goes. I personally, I'll have music going, but if somebody, like, I have different modes. If somebody wants to call me and I'm in tightening up mode or ink mode, as we would call it, I could talk to you till the cows come home. But if I am in construction, creation, visualization, layout, and planning mode, if you try to talk to me, dude, like I'll if you pull me out of the place, I might be a dick to you. Like fuck off, like get out of here. Like I have to protect that thing. Yeah. And I knew the one thing about the bullpen, it was not conducive to focused meditative thought, because there's a dart gun thing happening, or somebody sidekicking somebody.
It's all happening. It's funny. I actually miss. I would love to be like in a small studio, not like massive like what we had before, but maybe like, because I miss the synergy.
But it depends. It depends on who. Like I would love. I think you and I would get along pretty well, Marat. There are certain guys, like there's a guy who does a book called Fatal, Charlie Snogans. Like I get on the phone with him and we just like we're working and talking and it's like, holy shit, the fucking shit's done, and like that was like very cool. It's like I have a buddy, Matt Yackey. He's coloring Black Flag. I call him the ultimate road trip guy, because like my parents live up by San Francisco, and I used to live in Southern California, and it's like a 7-8 hour drive. Whew. With Matt Yackey, dude, it feels like an hour. Like there's certain people. So I think Marat, if you and I got talking comics or music, I think, or business, I think we would just keep going and going.
Yeah, no, there's not everybody, obviously, but there's certain guys I could totally do the studio thing with, and I'm different. I always have like TV shows, streaming, and I think that's my substitute for like people.
Yeah.
Like, on and like Manuel will come into my office and I'll have like something streaming on my iPad, and then on the desktop there'll be like YouTube sports shows playing, and she's like, how the fuck can you even concentrate? Like 18 things happening. I was like, I know, but look, I drew 2 covers today. Like it's working.
Right. Parts of our brain need a babysitter sometimes.
Yeah.
It's so funny that you say, because I'm the exact same way, and I've been that way since I was, probably my late teens, early 20s. That I'll be listening to music on my headphones. I'll have the TV going. I can't even hear the TV, but it's just on. And I got something playing that I wanted to watch. So every once in a while, I'll look up, but I'm still listening to my music, and I'm just it's like I almost need all that. I don't even know what it is, but whatever it is, it's like it's keeping me in the zone without distracting me. Maybe it's just an artistic brain. I don't know.
And maybe it's because I've been doing shows for like 10 years, the convention circuits. Got used to just being in the middle of the madness, down with the lab board, trying to bring out commissions. So maybe that's it. Maybe I just got so used to that energy around me. But I need, like, you put me in a quiet room after about 5 minutes, I'm like, what the hell is going on?
I have playlists, man.
Yeah.
Playlists are like almost like prescriptions in a way. If I have a playlist on Spotify called 1989 that has music from like basically 86 to 90, but it's like that sweet spot. Because I met Rob in 89. I met a lot of artists in 89. Was probably the most hungry. I mean, I'm still hungry now, but like the most like kind of eye of the tiger, like when I woke up, when I went to bed, just eye of the tiger all the time. But anytime I hear that music from those years, especially like Soul to Soul, they're, Keep On Moving, that album, or Janet Jackson's Rhythm Nation. Like there's certain albums that I'll hear that will literally take me back to 1989, Mrs. Young's ROP Graphics Room, pouring over McFarlane, pouring over Rob, pouring over Byrne, Jim Lee, pouring over that stuff. Yeah. And I got my spinner rack back here with all the same shit that I loved back then. If I put on 1989 and I crack those books open, it's as if like that energy from 1989, that drive goes into my body, and I go, it's like I'm ready to fight. And then the stuff that keeps me cooking is like weird shit like Miles Davis or Glenn Miller, big band music. Yeah.
Did not expect that.
Well, it's because the Glenn Miller is because my grandpa, the guy who taught me how to draw, was a big Glenn Miller guy. So like drawing as a little kid, it's all about like time travel, it's like pulling a feeling and like we can't go back, but the thing that never changed is that music, right? So that's why it's like smell, certain cooking, and music and certain movies will always take you back because they didn't change, except some things don't go back and look at them, like Voltron, don't do it,
Well,
enjoy enjoy it in your mind. Same thing with Transformers, enjoy it in your mind,
right?
Don't go back.
But all right, for quick Transformers, like the first season has some great raw gestures. Like I'll watch that like it's poetry,
Yeah,
that's my shit.
But like story wise, fuck, that's what I'm not talking the art. I'm because Voltron, we could turn the volume off and like watch him cut up row beefs and shit. Hell yeah! But if you try to watch it and get something out of it, you're like, whoa. When I was a kid, this was everything, and right now, this isn't everything.
Still good.
Oh yeah, the greatest intro ever done.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Back when intros for cartoons were awesome. Nowadays, that's the one thing they really kind of don't focus on much anymore.
It's all the Cal Arts. It's the Cal Arts way, man. It's like they made a concerted effort at a certain point to go. It happened in the 50s too with the UPA. The United Artists style. Like everything was super gestural and almost like egg shapes and squares. Yeah. But when they said, "Hey, we can do 20 episodes on a very limited budget as long as the designs are kind of like this," next thing you know, you got fucking Loud House, Adventure Time, like all of these sort of things that have a vibe to them. And that what that vibe is easily replicated, easy to storyboard, easy to animate. But what you miss out on is like the good shit,
Yeah.
It's all gag based now.
Yeah, that's true. That's 100% true. I think that's why when I was a kid, I got to grow up in the best era for cartoons for Saturday morning or whatever, Sunday morning. It doesn't matter. Just morning cartoons.
Yeah.
When in the late 80s and early 90s, when I would have been watching stuff, and you had all the good shows at that point, you know, like He-Man, Thundercats, Dino Riders, you know, it was all out there. And to me as a kid, that stuff was amazing, and it transferred like right to what I was reading in comics. It was like basically, it was like comics on TV, even though it wasn't the comic books. And nowadays, all that's gone. You know, that kind of disappeared. Like when I watch cartoons now. If a cartoon's good, I'll still watch cartoons. I get excited for it because I love art. I love animation.
Yeah, I'll tell you one that my 7-year-old, the vibe of the Smurfs is communism. The vibe of the Smurfs was communism.
Is it really?
About it. Yeah, think about it. All of these dudes under the rule of the Red Father, you know,
oh, yeah.
one chick, you know, and they had to all share her. That's socialism. You know? Nah, like my 7-year-old, he turned me on to, and that's the cool thing about having kids is he turned me on to the Hero Academia, you know.
Okay.
And so, I mean, the character, like the Deku character, is kind of whiny and stuff. So I try to not pay attention to the stories as much because it's like there's a lot of whining in these shows.
Right.
But the gestures and the action, like going back to what Sean was saying about like gestures and cartoons, they really they know what they're doing, man. Some really hyped action in that show. It's got limited animation, but when they decide to like throw a pose down, it's usually badass.
You know, that kind of reminds me, you were talking earlier about the observations and stuff that he was kind of bringing up sometimes. I remember an episode not too long ago where he was talking about the influence of anime, where you guys would go to and get all the anime, like the anime books there were, and like kind of start bringing that into your style or looking a little bit more. Like
you mean manga or do you mean
anime?
anime?
Yeah, manga. It's
yeah.
I always mix those two. Manga.
I do too.
The longest
Yeah,
time.
what the way I remember it, and Marat probably he was there before me, but I used to call Rob and bother him a lot, so I would get some of what Marat was living on real time. But
right.
I remember when I started seeing like crazy gear in the X-Men and some stuff in X-Force and going, yo, that gear is a trip. And Rob said, oh yeah, that's because Jim's got a copy of Appleseed. I'm like, what the fuck is an Appleseed, you know? And he's like, yo, shoulder pads and like the headgear and all this stuff. And I was like, yo, okay. And then, you know, we learned, because I don't like when I came up, we got hit with the anime roughly. Yeah, there you go. We got hit with the anime roughly 88 when Akira hit, right? Like Akira hit, and we knew Macross and like Star Blazers and stuff like that. But like Akira was like, you know, the epicenter, just like in the beginning, just Akira dropped and everything was crazy. And you know, we thought, I always pronounce manga as manga instead of manga.
Yeah, I don't even know. I still don't even know how you really pronounce it.
Yeah, I think it's manga.
I think so, but everyone does it differently. And I'm just like,
yeah. But when Rob talked about Appleseed, and then eventually we found this place in LA, in Little Tokyo. It was on 4th and Alameda. It was called Yahan Plaza, and we would drive down there. And it was called, I forget how you say the name, Kinyu something bookstore. I don't know how you say it, but it's in all the Yohan plazas. It's like these Japanese plazas. And you go in, and this is before they used to shrink wrap the books. We would go to like what kind of looked interesting, because like some stuff they had laying down, and you go, man, that's fucking cool. What's Pat Labor? What's Bubblegum Crisis? What's Dominion? What's, all this shit.
And everybody had their patch.
Oh, yeah.
Like nobody knows about this one. And you would buy it and you bring it back and you hide it.
Uh-huh.
Then somebody else would have something else. You're like, oh, what are you looking at? And everybody would be like, oh, no.
Nothing. Yeah. Eat Man was like that. Eat Man was one that people would hide. Oh, if anybody got a copy of the Capcom, the Capcom art book that came out, that was like a very because it had like a Bengus and Akimon, which is where Joe Mag got all his flavor from.
Mm.
I had one called Striker that had like the most awesome action. I was like,
yeah. And like things I know when one of my books comes from the studio days, because Fraga is written on the spine, Fraga is written on the cover, Fraga is written on the inside cover. What's up, Harrison?
Hello.
What's up, buddy?
Hi.
Hey, they're saying hi.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi.
He just came to grift the phone. But yeah, that was it. And like everything we were trying to find, at least for me, it was what cool tech, what cool shot, what cool sequence, gear. And then the other hidden piece of gear, Marat, you remember this. You remember that the Mike Mignola sketchbook pages we all had? It had like...
Yeah, it was a lot of his stuff he did for that DC book he did, right?
The Iron Wolf or something like that.
Yep.
Something Wolf. But a lot of character designs. And we all were like, yo, I'm taking that. That's cool. We were like Jawas, man. Fucking
Jawas.
we were like art Jawas.
Yeah.
Fucking Wutini everywhere.
Wutini. No, I thought that was a very eye-opening episode, because I never really thought about it much when I was a kid. It was just what I was reading. It was just cool. Whatever was cool. And what I saw and I never really got into manga as far as the comics, but when I was watching anime and I really got into anime, that was the closest thing I thought that I would see as like a comic book, because similar designs, and I never really kind of put two and two together that was a big influence at some point and worked its way in. And you guys were kind of like maybe the champions of kind of bringing that flavor in and putting it into the industry at the time. And others that, like you said, Jim Lee had a copy of Appleseed and stuff. And like kind of really infusing that. And I think that might have been like one of the stylistic booms, the late 80s, early 90s, when that stuff started coming in, because you saw all the awesome high tech shoulder pads. People give a shit about pouches, but I always thought pouches are cool as shit, because you never know what hit them.
The speed
that was a crazy beast, at least from my recollection. Marat, you may have a similar one, or maybe the same one, but it kind of went like this. It went like Rob did pouches, right, and gear, and then like we all saw like the way Simon Bisley was doing veins. And so we did like gear and veins. And then we saw like, Splat was doing even more fucking pouches and veins and gear, but he was doing tattered clothes. So it was like, nah, let's just like, it was like fucking, frosting a cake with 10 layers of frosting. We were just like, fucking frost that cake.
It became about how many effects you throw on your gesture, on your drawing.
Yeah.
Like how much bells and whistles.
Yeah.
Like, this might be a terrible tasting cake, but there's going to be so much on this cake.
It's got sprinkles. It's got pepperoni.
But it was cool. It was cool as hell, And at the time, I don't think. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think the big thing is especially, I mean, from our studios, all these guys were just like, it was the energy and the excitement and the idea of like, I'm adding this little thing to my work. Like, last issue I drew this character, but he didn't have this 15-foot gleam coming off his shoulder pad. Well, now he does. So now I got a little
the Matsuda shines.
It was just like it resonated because it was young people gearing toward young people. So damn, I chased Dan off.
No, I won't smoke on camera.
Oh.
I mean, you can if you want, unless that's something YouTube doesn't like. I have no idea.
I don't know. I've never tried it.
But yeah, I mean, that's what it was. you guys were so young when you were making comics, and the guys that were 5 to 10 years younger than you were the recipients of all of that, and it was just we ate it up. I loved it.
It's weird, man.
I would say if I saw a character with more gear and more muscles, like you said, veins popping out, I used to love that when I was a kid, especially in like Extreme Studios. I always thought I love the effects that you guys would do with the neck muscles. It'd be so like, just pronounced and stretched out.
Henley Rollins.
But it looks so cool when I was a kid.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think we all had a good time doing the thing, and like the weird thing about like you were saying, the guys 5 years behind us, 10 years behind us. The older I get, the more research I do about comics, illustration. I'm realizing that everything is sort of an echo, like we know what we know, right? We know the touchstones. Like I know a John Romita when I see it. I know a Buscemi when I see it. I know a Frazetta, a Brightson. Like I know them when I see them. But then when you go, like you get introduced to like Frank Robbins, for example, right? He did all the Johnny Hazard stuff, and like in the 40s. You learn about him, you learn about Stan Drake, and you learn about these guys, and you go, oh, John Byrne was doing Neil Adams, and who was Neil Adams doing? And for a long time, people were like, oh, Michael Golden had no influences, but like if you dig deep, you start going, oh, wait a second, he did. It's this guy, it's this guy, it's this guy. I think everything's a remix. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I'm McFarlane. I'm Rob. I've got some Art Adams, some John Byrne, but like when I'm most me, like when I just go, it's like I'm somewhere between like like my natural instincts are John Byrne and Todd McFarlane. Like that's like if I was just to draw You Leave Me Alone and like me not trying to do anything, just do the picture. That's where my tendencies end up going. But that's probably also goes back to just like, if you think about, inception of ideas, like I know the first woman I ever saw that gave me funny feeling was Linda Carter, right? Like, and like for the rest of my life, I'm like, fucking brunettes are the best, like I don't know, like it just is. So I think like for comics, it's like, I know I had this epiphany, like the reason I add tears and rips and shit, I realized is because almost all of my favorite images that I love over time all have that. Like they all do, whether it's the Dark Knight cover with, the grizzled, Batman, or if it's the McFarlane cover, Spider-Man 5 of him coming out with his hair pulling out and all that, or Sam Keith's Wolverine from Marvel Comics Present with the tatters and tears.
Yeah, awesome.
Those are all like some of my favorite pieces. And I go, because you ever wonder why you draw the way you draw? You ever get down and go, why did I choose to do this? Why? Like I do this now automatically, but how did I get here? And you find out like, oh, like a lot of it, it's like when the bomb hit, I go back to that Akira bomb. Like when the bomb hit, like, oh, I draw fucking big characters like this because John Byrne's Hulk was the best big character I ever saw in my whole life up until that point. And that like, it hits your DNA. It almost like bonds with you. It goes, nope, that's the thing. And there's no way around it,
Yeah. You said, that was perfectly said. It's funny because when I was growing up, like guys like you, and then, the guys that came a little bit before you guys, like Jim and Rob and Mark and all of them, I was so consumed with what I was in love with that it took me a long time to get back to before them. So it wasn't until I got a little bit older that I realized that they had influences. And, like going back to guys like Byrne and Perez and Magnolia, fucking can't fucking speak. But, it's funny because like when I actually study art, as you go farther back, you can see the influences that Jim Lee had. You can see the way like leg was drawn or a torso was drawn, you know, like the poses, you know, like I commented
Or
on
he's
something.
like, look at Kevin Nolan. I'm going to try that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
John
you know.
Byrne,
Which is awesome,
John Byrne anatomy with Kevin Nolan faces, Mike Mignola lighting, and Barry Windsor Smith rendering. That
Yeah.
was like the formula. And then when Art DeBear came in, he gave him a little bit of bounce, and he was like, "Oh, let's throw a little more cartoony in there," and then you have Jim Lee. Now, Marat, one of your influences is George Perez.
I love George.
I know you do. And here's the thing, that's where I'm at right now in my my search for greatness is I'm on George Perez right now. Okay. So I got Focus, the Art of George Perez. I got all the interviews. I got the Modern Masters. I've got I read Project Pegasus, the early stuff. What's up? What'd you do?
I just scrolling through pictures and been that happy.
Okay, well, don't mess with those things.
He's like, I swiped right.
No, I just scrolling through pictures.
I know. I was looking for boobies and I found them.
No,
No, so with Perez, I had to ask Rob about this too, because when it came to the battle of Perez and Byrne, I was unanimously a Byrne guy, and like even to this day, I'm still trying to I see it every now and then, but I'm still trying to understand the magic of Perez.
To me, it was the difference. Like where John would tell you the story, in 4 panels, George would do it in 10. And George would be very into the lighting and the mood setting and the crazy detail in the background. And John was like, I'm going to give you the basic information. So it was, I'm a huge John Byrne guy. I mean, those two are my 1A and 1B,
Yeah.
I think part of George too is, I'm not the first guy to say this, Rob touched on it a bunch of times in his podcast, but George had some really not so great inkers in his life. Like if Terry Austin had inked his run on Titans, I think we'd be having a different conversation. You know? And again, it's people can say whatever they want. There's no comparison. If you have a mega run outside of maybe Frank on Batman, if you have a big run at Marvel, it's a bigger run than if you have a bigger run in,
DC.
It just is.
That's true. That's true.
If you win a championship in Milwaukee, if you win a championship in New York,
right.
Right. Yeah.
It's just a different animal altogether. So I think that's part of it. But I think George, what I always appreciate about George was like, how much, how like his thought process to me, and getting to know George throughout, the years that I've known him with, and gotten pretty friendly with him. What John Byrne was like, if you look at Byrne's faces, they're all relatively the same. You have a straight nose, you have a crooked nose, you have a square jaw, you have a more round,
Yeah, he had that Taco Bell menu.
Yeah, but George was very detail was his thing. Like if you look at the Flash or Kid Flash, he never looked like Robin, who never looked like Changeling, who never looked like, Wonder Girl, never looked like Starfire, never looked like Raven. Like he was so meticulous, and this is her facial structure and it's completely different from hers. You look at John Byrne's Scarlet Witch and you look at John Byrne's, Jean Grey, and if you switch the outfits, it's the exact same face, it's the exact same body. Where George was so meticulous in how he presented things, and I love the fact that he told the story in a different way. Like he would build the tension. Like if somebody's angry, you get, the face, the close up on the eye, then the fist shaking, then, clenching up, the gritted teeth, and then it's the leap. With John Byrne, it was like angry face, leap. And so they both were amazing. But I just like, and by the time I got into George, I was already, I had picked up the whole John Byrne X-Men run. I had all the Marvel team up stuff he did. I didn't get into George until he was in the Titans, like doing the Judas contract when they introduced, Nightwing.
That's all I knew about.
Yes.
It wasn't until I did the deep dive that I knew that I learned about the Avengers, that I learned about it, about all that other shit.
And so when I got into George, like, here's George doing the Judas contract, and then boom, he hits you with Crisis on Infinite Earth, and you're like, holy crap! Like, it was just neither one of them was my first love. Like, Paul Smith was my first love. That's what got me.
Really, I didn't know that, man. I thought it was George.
It was X-Men. No, it was Paul Smith. I didn't, like I said, it was Paul Smith, because my first comic was X-Men 173. So
that's a good one.
I got into that, and then I started going back, slowly, and then I got to the John Byrne stuff, and I was like, holy crap! Like, this guy's phenomenal. And then it was all John Byrne for a couple of years, and then I finally got into George. So I got into George and Frank Miller and Simonson and all those guys relatively at the same time, because I had enough credit to start getting stuff besides X-Men, because that's pretty much all I got. A year and a half, because I just wanted back issues. So it was, I mean, like, now it's tough. There are days where I go, oh, it's George. And there are days where I go, it's John. And there are days go,
I see what you're saying, because like they have a if there was a George and John Venn diagram, there's a little bit of overlap, but there's so much that each offers uniquely upon themselves.
Yeah, Kirby's the overlap. For sure.
Kirby. Kirby.
Always comes back to Kirby.
I mean, that was my introduction. Well, not my introduction. I was a huge John Byrne and George Perez guy, and I couldn't stand Kirby because I was a kid and I was like square knees, and I was reading stuff.
Yeah, but you have a fucking sketch and I don't.
Well,
oh man,
I've seen
my
it.
teacher was Jack Sinker came in, and Scott Frenzia, who was the assistant manager at the Golden Apple, the store I was working at, like, Mike Thibodeau came in, and I was, 13, 14, something like that, whatever I was. And he was like, Mike, this kid loves Byrne, and he loves Perez, but he doesn't like Jack. And he was like, what? And I was like, I don't like it. And then one of my favorite characters was Mr. Miracle.
Oh, shit.
And so they're like, wait, and Mr. Miracle is like one of your favorite characters? And I'm like, oh, yeah, the Michael Golden and Mark Rogers issues are awesome. And they're like, what about the Jack stuff? I was like, So,
but it's his character.
So Mike took my sketchbook to Jack's house, and that's why you saw that Mr. Miracle is almost a recreation of the cover to #1.
Awesome.
And so he got it back when it has the Mike Thibodeau sketch of like Darkseid holding me up, and he's like, this kid wants this sketch for free, and so like after that sketch, I slowly was like, all right, maybe I should start looking at this Kirby guy. Like, apparently he's important.
Oh, yeah. He's the epicenter, man.
And then like a year, maybe a couple of years after, when I started going to Rob's studio, when him and Valentino were sharing the studios, they started breaking down what I wasn't seeing. Like, at that point, I was all about the shine. I was all about
I would love to have been there, because those guys know.
No, they changed my perspective on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, Jim and Rob know. I mean, that's the thing. I'll give Jim I'll just call him the nicest thing I can call him right now. A coarse son of a bitch. For being a coarse son of a bitch, he sure knew his stuff.
I love Valentino. He's like grandpa. I visited him like a year and a half ago, in Oregon. He was.
Hey, you know what though, Marat? Remember when we must build the golden calf? We must build the golden calf.
Hey Jim, you want to come to where you going? Spaghetti factory, Franco-American slop.
Yeah, fucking crazy.
What's the story behind the golden calf?
Well, there's this, and I want to answer Chauncey's question too, but
a couple questions that we'll get back.
Chauncey had a good question. So in Ten Commandments, the one with Charlton Heston,
yeah,
there's this guy played by Edward G. Robinson who's like riling the crowd up. Right? Like Moses hasn't come down from the mountain. His God is bullshit. Gather your trinkets, gather your gold. We must build the golden calf. And so Jim early in the studio, this is like 92, like this is early on, like where he was still kind of had a foot in the Guardians of the Galaxy door and had like a foot in like developing Shadowhawk, which Marat and I helped on. A lot of people don't realize that. He would kind of like get whipped into frenzies and walk around the studio trying to get like commiseration. So he, like, did you see this? Oh my gosh. And blah, blah, blah. And he'd like whip it up. And I remember watching 10 Commandments and going, that guy's fucking Valentino right there. He's like, gather your trinkets, gather your gold. We must build the golden calf. Like, so I remember we used to say that, like, Jim's fucking trying to get the golden calf built. He wants to build the golden calf.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But, to answer Chauncey's question.
Yeah, we'll go back up here and see if I can.
The question, something that I know, Marat's answer will be different about creating comics now that they wish they had known years ago. Trust your feelings. You know them to be true. To trust yourself. To just trust yourself and not be insecure at all. Just to listen to yourself.
Yeah, definitely do you.
Yeah, that's it.
I wish I had a little more interest in the business side in the early days. And understand that part a little more. But I was just so happy to be there, and I was having a blast. I mean, I think all of us were, as neurotic as we were trying to get in the Wizard top 10 and, the, competition we had we had crazy competition within the studio, and then we had studio competitions against other studios. So it was like so much.
There's noise.
Yeah, so much noise. I wish none of that was around. I wish we could have just focused on, we were getting to tell pretty fun stories. I mean, like, I would come in and, I go, hey, Rob, I want to do something like this. He was like, all right, well, so kind of mix it in with this is what I want to do. Go talk to Eric and,
figure it out.
Like make sure my stuff's in there. And I know you had a lot of freedom in that stuff once you got past Bloodspray, got a lot more freedom.
Kid Supreme. If I had to like knock down like a door that wasn't a creator-owned thing, Kid Supreme is probably like my favorite job.
Because you what you wanted to do, and that's and then I mean looking back, like holy crap, we had a lot of acclaim, fanfare for young guys just a year or two in, like
well we got the edges of that spotlight that were shining on our dudes,
and it was nice. It was still good.
I could warm my hands to that glow, man.
No, I mean that's 100%. You had the rock stars, and you guys. I mean, so to me, your names started popping up, right? Dan, guys like Brett Booth and J. Scott Campbell, like all these younger names that came under the banner of the Image founders were just as big of rock stars to me as Liefeld and Lee and Silvestri and McFarlane, because it was just the art was awesome. I mean, art evolved, and you guys, got more comfortable and did what you want to do as you got going. But like for me, Brigade, Bloodstrike, over Wildstorm, Backlash, and Gen 13, like to me that was just as good as the big names that got me to the dance, you know. So I mean, it's, in that aspect, you were all rock stars to me.
We had a
you were
good
all,
time.
you know.
My answer to Michael Green's question is John Buscema. I think John Buscema doesn't get enough love.
He's so good.
He is, but it says who's the most underrated, but you never, like, you always hear.
That's true. It's a good point.
You always hear like Kirby and Ditko, but like, fuck Buscema, goddammit.
I was like,
I was gonna say his brother.
Neil, and you took Jack and you just mashed them up, you would get John.
Yeah.
So good.
You got How to Draw the Marvel Way out of it. You know, I mean, that's one of the biggest. When I read that book, I mean, that dude's art is that's teaching a generation of generations of people how to draw. You know, to this day.
Leandro's question. Today's mainstream talent, do you feel the realism has taken fun out of the shine and fun of 90s art? There's this kind of a nested question. So today's talent, there's a lot of guys out there that are working. They've been around for a while. Guys like Ryan Stegman. I think Ryan Stegman's great. I think Stuart Immonen's great. Olivier Copielli's is fantastic. Jerome Opina is great. As far as the realism taking away the shine of 90s art, I'll tell you, just take out the 90s part of it and let's just get down to the brass tacks of what 90s art is. It was the epitome of what made comics comic. And this is something I talk about a lot, and I'm open to discuss it with anybody who wants to talk to me about it, is that comics have something that is unique unto themselves, which is that they have a grammar and a toolbox of comics vocabulary. So exaggeration is one thing that is essential to a comic book. Exaggeration will get the point across in a very big way. Melodrama is one. The dramatic storytelling, pacing, all of these things are unique to comic books as far as the graphical layout and what they do to the audience's experience as a storytelling device. What realism has done when they try to put storyboards in staples, like, oh, let's make it a movie. Let's make it very, keep the squares and, draw it like a movie. Well, you literally have just taken out like all of the comic book of it, let alone the 90s. When I hear 90s, I just think of the volume at 11, like it's everything comics should be at 11, baby. That's what I think of the 90s. But comic books in general, the most successful comic books, the most bombastic, big, Neil Adams, John Byrne, Jack Kirby, Mobius, like McFarlane, like big, loud stuff. None of that stuff is grounded in realism. None of it.
Yeah.
Even Neil Adams, for as realistic as he is, go back and look at his layouts. Go back and look at where he puts his camera. There's nothing realistic about it. It's about utilizing the tools that make a comic book. And that's what I think is missing today with this realism style, is that they've taken away all the fun shit that makes it a comic. Instead, it's a, airplane manual.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons. Go ahead.
The industry has probably more good illustrators than it's ever had, and very few good comic book artists.
Yeah.
So,
good way to put it.
I take on
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. The bunny outfit has hands.
Yeah, I saw that earlier when you first came on. Harold Berg said, Dan, how was doing Menace and for Jada Pinkett Smith? We have that one shot.
Oh, it was cool. She was a sweetheart. She was pregnant with Jaden when we were working together, and fun concept. I mean, the only hard part about that was that, in when you work in Hollywood, changes are very common. Like you go, oh, I want I don't want that to be a Ford. I want it to be a Chevy. And, take that dress off that girl, put a different dress on. These changes are nothing changes. So when you have that kind of mindset, the only hard part when I did Menace is that was the kind of stuff she would do. I don't want it to be a Tahoe. I was thinking of making an expedition. So you have to like go and erase all the pages that have like the fucking Tahoe. And like, I know I said I wanted her hair up, but let's have her hair down. And so, a lot of like, okay, well, fucking put her hair down, Oh, and then it goes back to put her hair back up, but other than that, and that's not even a knock, because she's, like I said, she's fucking awesome. It's just the translation of like, I learned a phrase when I worked at Mattel: when you can make changes and when you can't. You say the cement's still wet, right?
Yeah.
Like, we can still trowel it out and, whatever. But if you say, oh, fucking cement's near dry, that's like, don't make a fucking change or it's going to be expensive,
Yeah.
And there was a lot of dry cement changes that were a little crazy. But other than that, she was awesome.
Guys, I know some of you all had questions. Repost them and we'll bring them up as the chat goes. Because of the way my brain works and being dyslexic, sometimes I look at the chat and it just all blurs together.
That's an easy card. You're slicker than that.
My whole life, man. My whole life, I've had to deal with stuff like that. It's stupid. But yeah, repost your questions if I haven't got to them. But what I would like to do is being the whole Blood Brothers things, and because you guys were so prevalent with Bloodstrike and Brigade in the very beginning, and the whole tag Blood Brothers and the whole Battlestone Cabot, and it goes forward, and you kind of kept that moniker. I always thought that was kind of cool, and that having this show when we were tossing around ideas, and both you guys, had the same kind of thought process of Blood Brothers Reunited. I thought that was great because I've always really associated you guys with that. The concept behind that crossover, what was the behind the scenes of that? Did that specifically come from Rob to you guys, or was that one of your guys' idea, or was it this collaboration? And how much fun was that just doing a book where you were pitting your two teams against each other?
I remember Rob bringing the idea to us. I don't know if you have a different remembering of it, but
I don't remember it at all.
I think me and Dan being pretty much what we're like 1 year apart, year and a half apart, so close that we were into the same type of stuff, and we were buddies, but we're also super competitive. And I think Rob kind of picked up on that, and he knew like if he kind of pits us against each other, so to speak, in the same, he's going to bring out the best out of both of us. So
it's Backstreet Boys and In Sync essentially, and Rob's like Lou Pearlman. It's like I'm joking.
It was such a natural thing. You had one team being led by one brother, another team led by another, and then here's your two, young gun rookies who you're kind of, putting forward first, before all the other guys there. It was like, here's Rod and Dan. Like, besides me, this is who we're running with, and I mean, it was
man, I'll tell you, my experience was a little different, and I don't want to take any of the romance out of it. But like when I was in my my little room in high school drawing my comics, I would come up with a story, close my eyes, see a picture in my head, and then draw the picture.
Right.
And when I got on Bloodstrike, Rob was doing the layouts, which was great. I don't know. Maybe Marat knows. The only thing that I had laid out previous to working on Bloodstrike was the Youngblood Zero stuff. I had done a pinup, and I had done the ad for Blood Brothers where they're holding the guns. Like I laid those out. But Rob had asked, not asked, he said, here, I'm doing the layouts for this book. So I basically, in my mind, I think I went into autopilot, because when you lay out a book yourself, or when you're storytelling, in its purest form, it becomes holographic, almost like a holodeck, right? It's like when someone tells you a story, or when you read a book, you picture the people that can picture. I found out some people can't picture things, which is very sad. Did you know some people can't hear voices in their head too? That's another one. Like when
I think I've heard that before. I think that's really weird.
You just go, whoa, what the fuck? But
right.
When I would read something or write myself a story to draw, I would have pictures and I'd go, I want to put the camera here. I want to do this, that, and the other. When you take that out of the equation, you start just thinking about the drawing and not really about the situation that you're drawing. You're not thinking about the geography or the geometry. You're just thinking like the characters and the drawing. So I hate to be, like I said, I hate to take the romance out of it, but like for that Blood Brothers Blood Strike stuff, I was literally just trying to draw pretty pictures on top of Rob's stuff. I wasn't,
No, I was gonna say, see, for me, it was the other way around, because I was like, oh man, like Dan's got like a freaking, a lead. Like he doesn't have to think of badass layouts. Like he's already gotten it, so he has to just like. I knew what Dan was gonna do. He was gonna put in tons of detail into everything, and then he had, I love you, Norm, but he definitely had the drinker. Like he had Danny, who was, at that point leaps and bounds ahead of Norm. And so to me, it was like, I was like, oh man, I've got to, like, the finishes.
It's so weird, man. We're in therapy now, Marat. What are we doing? Oh my goodness! I got haunted by a little girl.
Hey,
hello.
Hi.
That's Lily Bell.
Hey,
sweetheart. What are you doing? Give me a kiss. I love you. I'll give you a kiss when I come up. All right.
To me, I was like, man, these layouts have to be, so good. Like I have to pick the perfect shots. I have to pace the perfect way. I have to do stuff that like Dan, and Rob aren't doing on that book. Like, so stuff that I'm coming up with was just like, I'm not going to have the time to put in all these tiny little details and draw in every crack, or like as Todd says, all the cracklies and all the stuff. I was like, I don't have time to do that, but I have to like come up with like badass layouts. People are going to remember shots, and people are going to remember.
That's so crazy, man. Yin yang.
Powerful stuff. Like the whole book's great.
I honestly, as we were doing the book, I was like, man, like I'm playing catch up the whole, time, until Rob was like, we got, what's his name? What was the guy's name? Paul Mounts. He's like, we got Paul Mounts to color it, and it's going to be airbrushed. It's going to be like different. And I was like, I was like, all right, now it's a fair game. Like now I feel like, he had, Fraga had his Shaq, and I have my, Anthony Davis or whatever. So I'm good to go now. Like I got my backup.
You had the greatest cover, that Brigade 2 Seahawk shiny cover.
Oh yeah,
that was the shit.
That is an awesome cover. That's an awesome cover. Yep.
Well, I had to, he had Rub the Blood first, so
Yeah, dude, that's so funny because like that's one of those things I can't even take credit for. Everybody that old schoolers go Rub the Blood, and I go yeah, and I tell them the hairdryer story. Like take a hairdryer to it. It'll protect your comic. You won't be rubbing it down. Yeah. What is it? Leandro says hopefully Fraga can provide an update. What was the question
about Black Flag when that was coming out?
Oh, it's coming out in the next couple months. I've been working on it. That's where I haven't been streaming because I've been had my head buried in my desk. I found that YouTubing and drawing are very difficult to do at the same time.
That it is.
So I'm realizing that I need to have seasons of stream, draw. But streaming and drawing every day, it's very difficult. I have 4 kids, so But I can't wait for you to see it. Cannot wait.
Yeah, I think most of us are patiently waiting.
Yeah, I can't picture things. That sucks.
Yeah, I've heard of that with not being able to hear voices and not being able to picture things, and I just can't fathom it in my head because
Dude,
that's
when
Yeah.
I cook, I can taste things before I put them in. When I make music, I can hear things before I do them. When I draw, I see it before. It's weird. It's like a virtual tryout before you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
yeah. Dissociative identity disorder.
Oh,
I
okay.
gotta see. I don't even know what that is. I gotta look that up. DID.
What?
Got homework.
Yeah. This. Yeah.
Now I got homework.
Yeah.
There you go. Lonely and nice. Um.
Yeah, it'll be sound.
Well, that's a lot of voices. That's a lot of voices, my friend. With when you guys were being pitted against, and I get what you're saying, Dan, when it comes to that aspect. Where, and did Rob lay out every issue you did on Bloodstrike, and it wasn't
1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. There were a couple of pages, I think, that I did on my own. But for the most part, he laid them out. Yeah, it wasn't until I think I did Supreme right after that. That one I laid out myself, and then Black Flag, Berserker, everything else after that I did myself.
Okay, yep. Berserkers, that was awesome. That was pretty cool.
But it's like you have your own ideas. It's like it's almost like if you had learned to play guitar because you wanted to play music,
right?
And you have all these songs in your head, and you're like, oh, they want the best jazz studio in the world wants you to come play jazz for them, and you're like, fuck yeah. And then they're like, here's your sheet music, stick to it, and you're like, but okay, like that's it. But I see Marat's point too, because I was being handed the greatest sheet music of all time. You know what I mean? So,
right.
like, which would make my guitar playing look good. But as far as my intent of why I do what I do, I felt like something was being taken away from me.
I totally get it. While I felt like you had, lead, so to speak, in the race, I wouldn't want somebody else doing layouts for me.
Right.
Not like the way you had them, from the creative perspective.
Right.
I think it gives you such a great, it's such a great learning experience. I did Rob's assistant for like a year and a half, where I transferred his pages day in and day out. All I did was trace his pages onto the 11 by 17 Bristol board, and so you start picking up on all the tricks. So it was a great lesson that you got by drawing over, almost the same thing, except I was always told when I was doing the transfers, like, you do not deviate one little line. I draw two left hands, you transfer two left hands. Like, you're not here to fix anything. You're here to give me exactly what I draw. Like, I was supposed to be a zero.
Right.
So, but the learning process, the process of like understanding his approach to storytelling, which up from, all these great lessons from Valentino and all the stuff he had learned, Frank Miller and Kirby and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's basically like nitrous, like you can learn the storytelling on your own, and you're going to learn your own way of telling stories. But like when you do what we got to do, me and, the transferring part, and you and working over 3 issues, you kind of have like the fast slate. Oh, this was a year and a half to learn, 2 years to learn doing my own stuff, 3 years to learn before I pick up these tricks, whatever it is. Well, I got it in 3 issues, I got it being before I even go.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. No, you and I were uniquely very I mean, obviously we learn how to draw, and we're both talented gentlemen, but I feel like me meeting Rob, you working with Rob, you and I meeting each other over the phone was very serendipitous. A lot of people don't know like how Marat knows, but like you guys, the way I broke in was I used to have this TV show called Comic Review for You, and I had done this portfolio review episode. And my buddy Mike, he still has this piece. He had purchased a sketch from Rob, but not a commission. Rob had all these like loose pieces of 8.5 by 11 sketches, and it was a drawing of Strife, and it happened to be drawn on the back of Rob's personal stationery. So it had Rob's like name, address, fax number, phone number. So I made it a point to like bother Rob, like I called him and I asked him if I could fax him and all this stuff. And eventually I would talk with Marat, and we talk comics, and like,
I don't have time to talk to them. Just answer the phone.
Yeah. No, I was a fucking pest. I know it. That's why I'm so believe me, I've done my time and I've paid it forward several fold. I'm always kind to the people that were like I was. But no, Marat, I think at some point Marat was like, just fucking hire him. Like, yeah.
Dan faxed something over, and I was the guy who would go and pick things up from the fax machine, and it was a 2-story studio. Fax machine was downstairs because that's where the shared office was that Rob shared with his uncle. And I'd go upstairs and I always bring the stuff to Rob, and I was like, and I saw it, and like Dan had exponentially grown. And at that point, Rob was forming Extreme Studios. I was like the first member, I guess, and then there was Corey and
Richard,
because he was doing backgrounds, he was helping Rob out with background stuff, and I said, like, Rob, check this out. Like, Rob was like, should we bring him down? I was like, at that point, I met Dan at a convention, right? We met at WonderCon, and talked for a little bit, and I was like, yeah. He's a talented young kid. That's what you say you want to build your studio on, is talented young guys, and you want to give them their breaks. And so brought Dan down, and Dan came down. I don't remember how that. I remember you lived on top of a comic book store for like a couple of months.
I did. That was horrible.
Yeah, it was dirty. For Dan, I felt
that bad. Was horrible. No hot water. It was horrible. But I'll tell you, the time. There were a couple of like real key essential moments that I remember. Like the number one, I remember running into you and Rob at San Diego Comic-Con '91, and that was like the very first whisper of Image Comics. It was when they were calling it McLarfeld. It was just Todd, Rob, and Eric, and they were calling it McLarfeld. Funny name, and like I at that point I had known all those guys. But then in like February of '92, Marat picked me up from the airport. You were kind enough to let me stay at your folks' place. I remember playing basketball with you, going and playing some ball with Dave Lewis and back at the North Barry studio. And that's when CNN had come. I remember CNN coming, and Eric Larson, like basically all the Image guys showed up. Marat and I. Do you remember having to color some of those Xeroxes because they didn't have color images of the characters? So we had to, like, CNN was coming, and like we didn't have color images of the dragon or Spawn, so we're like coloring them up with markers and like getting it all ready and shit.
Nice.
And then like this is February of '92, so I was like, I hadn't even moved there yet. That was kind of like my visit before I moved. And CNN had come and said, hey, there's 7 Marvel artists that left Marvel to form their own company and all this stuff. And then we all went to dinner at this Chinese food place.
It was so good.
It was. And what was it called? Lotus Court or something like that?
Oh no, it was in what's it start Fullerton, downtown Fullerton.
Yeah, it was. Yep. Yeah, and I remember we were sitting at the table, and there were 9 of us, right? It was the 7 Image guys, Marat, and me. And like,
awesome.
7, 8 months prior, I graduated high school, and I'm sitting at this table, And I'm looking around and I'm going, holy fuck. Like this, what the fuck? Like that's Todd McFarlane, Eric Larson, you know, like just the 7 Image guys, and my buddy Marat, and we're at this table, and I like that was one of those like I'll never forget this shit ever.
Right.
You know,
That's
bananas.
so cool.
I was crazy because it's funny because I think because like a little age difference between us, there's a little like almost generational leap of what influenced us, you and me.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was more of a John Byrne, George Perez, you know,
Yeah.
freaking Paul Smith. Those were the guys that really did it for me. The only Image guy that I was really in awe of was Silvestri, because Silvestri was
Really?
he was in my top 5 before like Image ever started. The rest of the guys, I was like, I like Todd's stuff. I like Eric's stuff.
Oh,
you know?
dude, Todd was the fucking top of the top of the top for me.
He wasn't. I was like, it's Todd. Like
man.
His art didn't do it. I understood why people love it. I understood what he did well. It just it did not press that button with me. Jim was kind of starting to like at that point you probably had, but it was only like a year and a half of really loving Jim. But
it's called Extinction Agenda, and it's this big.
Yep. But it was Silvestri was the only one that I was like,
yeah. Well, he can draw his ass off.
Yeah.
What? And he was just, you know, I mean, you guys all know, everybody watching knows. Like, you pick up an artist sometimes and right away you connect to his work. You go like, I like this guy's work. And then you start figuring out who he is and you buy whatever. If it's, you know, first time I saw Art Adams, it took, you know, 3 pages and I was like, I'm an Art Adams fan.
Yeah.
First time I saw Paul Smith or John Byrne, you know, I'm a John Byrne fan. I'm a Paul Smith fan. That was Mark. I mean, I remember, you know, just kind of, you know, even when Rob was doing New Mutants and Mars on X-Men and talking about it, and you know, I was like, oh man, I love Mark, and he was like, oh, he can draw really well, but you know, he doesn't go big and da da da. And Rob would break down what he wasn't doing at that point, and I was just like, I don't care, I love Mark's work. Like, you know, Rob was competitive, I was more just fanboying out, you know.
Yeah, the only one. It's such a unique perspective, you know, like
completely different. Like but I understood it because then I'd like go hang out with my friends who were comic fans. And I'd be like, oh yeah, you know, just chilled with Todd today. You know, he came down to visit Rob and we were hanging out at the studio and people were like, oh my God, Todd McFarlane. I was like, he's like, you know, but I mean, he taught me a lot of stuff. He's a blast to talk to. You know, he loves to, you know, give you knowledge and break things down. So it was a blast, and you know, I love Todd to this day.
He knows his shit.
We live in the same neighborhood. I've run into him sometimes, like picking up food at joints and stuff. But yeah, so to me, it was a little bit of a different perspective at that dinner. Like, I knew I was part of something special because I knew what was going on. I mean, CNN was just at the studio.
Right.
And I knew, like, I'm at the table with, like, the top, you know, 4 or 5 guys in the industry and 2 guys that are, you know, in the top 15.
Right.
So I understood what I was part of, but none of those guys, like, if I was sitting at that table with, like, John Byrne, George Perez, Paul Smith, Frank Miller, then I'd be like you were. So
yeah. I've had 2 of those meals, man. I've had 2 of them. I sat at a table one time with Jim Shooter, Jim Starlin, Mike Zeck, Larry Hama, Dennis Cowan, and like that's like a whole different different cut. You know what I mean? But you still just go, oh fuck, you know?
Yeah. No, it's crazy. Like the stuff we've gotten a chance to experience. You know, like it seemed like we were just thrown into this amazing situation, you know, as babies. We were like, you know, little guppies, and they're like, go swim in this big ocean. They're like, oh shit, I gotta navigate.
Well, that's the only thing. Like, why I would first off, let me set it straight and say I wouldn't change a thing. I believe things happen the way they're supposed to happen. But man, like, if just to go back and stop and say, okay, well, I wish I would have taken a picture with Jack Kirby, and I wish I would have like asked him more questions. You know, like, I don't know, like, just and then the other thing too is like guys like you, me, Chap, Matsuda, any of the first year guys at Wildstorm or Top Cal, the thing that we had different was sort of a double-edged sword. You know, if you look at you know, Jim Lee's early stuff, you got like Samurai Santa and a lot of Alpha Flight issues that people have forgot about, you know. Ugly stuff, you know. They think Jim Lee came on Punisher, you know.
Right. Yeah.
And you know, you look at early Mark Silvestri or early Rob or early Larson or early McFarlane, and you go, well, they had a couple hundred pages to kind of work their shit out, and then they got put places that people can notice them. It was like, you're ready, you can come out of the minors now, you go hit some home runs. Guys like Marat and me, they're just like, hey, it's the fucking World Series game, you're up to bat, and you're like, oh fuck, okay.
Yeah. No, I'm like, no, I tell people that all the time. I'm like, almost 1 million people saw my crappy first job, you know, like, not like, you know,
good point.
Unless you're a historian, like, you go, oh, what's Todd McFarlane's first job? And somebody will go, oh, it must be the Hulk or something. You know?
Scorpio Rose, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Coyote.
Stories, yeah. Like, yeah, that stuff, like, only the true fans know, like, where our stuff was like, every mistake we made from the go is like right there, and millions of copies, and then you know, after people got stuck with him, which is no fault of ours, like, then they're like, crappy comics, you know, like, you're not
right.
Yeah, but people are. This is the crazy thing now too. Is like, and it hurts. It hurts my heart. But like, people our age now have money, right?
Yeah.
And the stuff that we want costs a lot of money now. You know, it's like, I saw this John Byrne cover that I want, that I figured nobody wants it. Like, it's a nothing cover, right? It's the cover the cover of Spider-Man Annual 23, right? It's the one that Rob drew. And I have a soft spot in my heart for it. It's got She-Hulk and Spider-Man and Abomination on it and all that. You know, 1989. And I found the guy who has the original, and then he said it's $45,000, and I went, yeah, no.
Yeah. Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah. And you just go, fuck, man. God damn it. 1989, I probably could have got that for $200.
I remember the Cod cover that just sold for what, 280,000, whatever it went to.
Oh, was that the 298?
Yeah, I remember one time selling it for like $500-600.
Yeah.
And I was like, not a big Todd guy. Plus, I was like 18 years old, 9.5, 600.
I've been collecting sketches though. I've got a John Byrne. I just picked up a John Byrne from his 1978 sketchbook. Hell yeah. It makes me feel so good inside. I just picked up a Frazetta, really cheap. Some girl drawings. I'm getting a Roy Krenkel. I have some Buscema. But all the stuff I collect is like, the stuff that's in my price range is stuff that people go, oh, that's a nice sketch. It's like, it's not Wolverine. It's not, you know, the Death Dealer. It's not, you know, but they touched it. You know what I mean? Like, that's, I feel like, you know, it's everybody else is eating in and out. I can afford McDonald's, you know, like,
I stay away from original art because of that. And I know you and I have a buddy, Nick Barucci.
Yeah.
Who,
oh God.
who he's always like, "Oh, you want to start collecting? You should start collecting." I'm like, "No, Nick, because like,
Yeah.
like I have expensive taste. Like I don't."
Yeah, no, that's the thing. And Nick's got, dude, he's got some things where I'm like, dude, like, I would, if I had any, like, there are like maybe 10 pieces that he has that if I had them on my wall, like walking out of my bedroom, I would jizz my pants 10 times. Like I would. Like, no joke. Like, you know, the cover of the Wolverine trade paperback where he's fighting all the ninjas.
Yeah, he has the rough.
He has the he has the pencils to it, and you just go, oh, good. Oh, thank you for fucking ruining that. You know,
Man, I don't have any original art. I would kill to because I can't afford. Like you said, I've got the guys I would want original art from. I can't afford.
I got a bunch of Marats like just hanging out, just like because it's just right there. I gotta grab it. I'm gonna promote him.
Yeah, well, dude, I'll tell you what. Eventually, what's going to happen is people will realize that what we did was part of an era too. Because I know one of the guys that's really sharp on collecting the old school image stuff, most specifically extreme stuff, is Kirkman.
Yeah, he loves that stuff.
Oh, yeah,
Robert Kirkman scoops all that shit up, you know, and like I would say of my own pieces, there are probably maybe 5 that I would wholeheartedly like to buy back, you know, and then of the pieces that I wish I had again, those I gave away, and I'm glad they're where they're at, you know, like the cover of Black Flag 1, not the McFarlane one, but the triple gatefold. I know where that is, and I know that'll never ever leave that person's hands. I also know who owns the McFarlane cover for Black Flag, and you know, we have a deal that if ever he was to part ways with it, I'd be the first phone call. And there are a couple pieces. There's one collector that has 2 of my covers that I would like, and he will not sell them back to me, but which is good. Like on one hand, I'm like, God damn it. On the other hand, I'm like, that's cool. Like, I'm somebody's precious. That's nice.
I would say it means something to them, you know?
Yeah.
Like, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now with my book I'm doing, I'm working with Weems, and we're doing the split, you know, like because he's inking over my original pencils, which I'll never let anybody do except it's Weems. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. We're gonna do that 2/3, 1/3 split of ownership. And I told my wife the other day, I was like, babe, I'm gonna go after the book's done and after he's done inking, I'm gonna go to him and tell him that I want the first chance to buy all those pages from him. Like I'll buy those pages because I want the entire book, but I want it because, you know, he inked it. I don't want anybody else getting a chance of selling it for, you know, however much he sells it for, you know, $50 or $100. I don't know what it would be, but give me a chance. I will buy it all back just so I have that first issue all inked by Weems in my possession, and I will never sell it. You know, just be something my keepsake, you know.
Cool.
Sean?
Yeah.
Are you going to show some stuff?
Oh, yeah.
And then I got a question I'm going to bring up here.
Yeah. Well, this is when I first met Marat, and I'm like,
oh, sweet.
When I was a nerdy little kid. Now I'm a nerdy.
What year was it?
04.
Oh, wow. Holy crap.
Yeah.
16 years ago. Holy shiza.
I modeled my heads off of this. I swear to God. So, thank you.
You're welcome. Spotlight. Boom.
Boom. Little convention sketches. Back when I used to do them. Now I'm lazy.
Man, there was an era of convention sketches that, like, I always offer people. I always tell them I'll do a new drawing for you if you burn this in front of me or do a video. You know, because Marat remembers these days. There were days where we would have, and I'm not exaggerating, like 500 people in line, and they all want a signature and they all want a head sketch. And head sketch 1 was okay, but head sketch 383 his chin was like fucking out to Jay Leno standard. His forehead looked like fucking The Mask, you know, like just like some shitty shit.
And you can't say no because like
Yeah.
that was your job. Like it's not like it is today. Like it was just part of the job for a long time. And then I remember I knew the industry had changed when I think it was, let's say maybe 2013 or 2014. I was doing free comic day. And I came in and I started doing free sketches. And the owner of the store came over to me and he was like, man, there was another creator there. I won't name names. He's like, Bob. Bob upset. I don't know, Bob. Like, what's Bob's upset about? He's like, well, he's not making as much money as he was hoping to make today because you're doing sketches for free. And I was like, it's free comic book day. It's about giving back. Like the word free, the damn name of the day. Like, but he was like, yeah, maybe you can cut off the free sketches. I was like, holy crap! Like, this
man, I'll tell you,
like, and I can't say anything because I charge for signatures at conventions. Like, if you don't buy it at my table, you buy it at my table, my signature's free. You bring stuff up to me, like one or two, I'll usually sign. But if you're bringing a stack of stuff, I'm like, I gotta eat too. Like, and so I'm not saying anything. I monetize like everybody else. So, but I remember when it changed, and I was like, oh, hey, this is new normal now. So.
Yeah, man. It's a weird thing. Sometimes, like the convention competition, I'm gonna throw that in air quotes. Like people get upset that if you're winning, that you're winning based off of their losing. Like that piece of the pie was somehow theirs and you took it. It's like it doesn't work that way.
Well, it kind of is. I mean, I've talked to other creators. Like, there's only X amount of dollars at every convention. Like, so basically, whatever dollar you have is definitely a dollar I don't have. Like, there's no guarantee I would have got it. Yeah. But I know I'm not getting it now because you got it.
Yeah, but you can't be mad at me for that. That's my problem. It's the getting mad part.
I think it's awesome right now. It's the wild, wild west out there. Like, you come, whatever you bring, to the gunfight, like, that's cool. Like, you brought a pistol, that's awesome. I brought a Gatling gun, like, so this like
I brought a time machine.
And that's the one thing, like, I'm more of an old school guy, but I'm like, there's new school rules. I'm gonna play by the rules, in front of me. And I feel like in the last 7 years, you're all nerds here. I feel like I've Kobayashi Maru the whole damn, industry.
Oh, dude, like, nobody knows this shit like you know it. That's for sure.
I just go like, these are the rules, man. I didn't make them, but I'm going to take advantage of every rule and every loophole, that's out there. And I wish it could be like old times. I wish, it was about like the work you throw down on the page, and that's kind of, makes you or breaks you, but it's not what it is anymore,
Well, dude, times are changing. I mean, these are the days of the pandemic. These are the days of crowdfunding. These are the days of, people telling you what they want. It's like it's good times. Like, I started off in the show talking about how I've been studying a lot of comic history, and I feel like right now, right this very moment, we're in a place that is new and exciting, and it feels like a whole new thing again. Like, I feel rejuvenated. It's like in the 70s when the direct market came along, and it revitalized comics. I feel like that shit's happening all over again. And 1961, when Marvel came out and we're doing a type of comic that people wanted, I feel like that's happening again.
Totally.
It's very exciting.
No, it's awesome because it is. It's basically and people are voting with their dollar, and there's no middleman.
Right. There's no middleman.
Oh,
And
there's no store owner that's going, your book doesn't sell because they didn't order anything.
Too many pieces of filtration in the old system, right?
You know, there's nobody. I mean, I never understood this. Walking into a store and having them, sub comic book Bob, and having them like berate something on their shelf.
Right,
Like,
that's your product.
Yeah, like I've never gone
Right.
into it, you know, brought it up to the counter, and they're like, "You're buying Snickers, really? Like Snickers
Right.
is what you buy? Like, you know, Milky Way is a better chocolate bar." Like I've never heard of anything like that.
Right.
At a comic store, you know, people like literally, I've seen people go, "You support this guy's stuff? He's terrible. He sucks. Why would you spend your money on this book?" And I'm like, dude, you spend your money on this book, or your boss spend money on this book. Like, your job is to push it out the door as much as possible.
Right.
Like, if I everything, I don't have one bad product in my store. Like, everything's fantastic. Like, there's
Dude,
no bad.
I worked right before I worked at Extreme. I worked at American Eagle Outfitters, and during Christmas, this was the December before that, February, and I was selling grandma's shirts that I would never fucking wear in my life. You know, I have a grandson. I have a grandson your age. Do you think he'd like this? Oh, I love it. I wish my grandma would buy me one.
Right.
Not hell no, man. That's some itchy ass flannel, girl. No way.
So, but yeah, no, it's I'm with you though. It's a great time to be in the industry. If you're aggressive and willing to work and willing to put yourself out there, you know. So
That's right. Amen.
Well, that was awesome. To let you guys just talk. I almost like. There's a couple of times you guys just going back and forth. I forgot that I was actually part of the stream.
Oh, sorry, man. You're the host.
No. It was awesome though, because I'm just sitting there listening to you guys. I'm like, this is just great. You know, like I love just hearing stories, loving hearing you guys just talk back and forth. So, hey, like, so I was just spacing out, loving it. Like, you guys just took over there for a second. Go for it. It was awesome.
That's my old homie, man. You know,
Marat, yeah, we can for hours and hours.
Marat's an old school homie, man, forever and ever.
Well, when you guys
experiences,
I was just saying, when you guys agreed to do the show and then we get you on together, I was like, man, this is gonna be awesome. Just listening to you guys talk about old stories and stuff, and it's been great so far. I love it.
Dude, that was the tip of the iceberg, man. We had.
I was just gonna say we're gonna have to do it again at some point.
Like almost 10 years, man.
Yeah, because there's
a lot of shit, man. Fucking, you know, people spelunking down the side of buildings. You know?
What?
Wait, what?
No, that's a story for another time, man.
Okay.
Oh, that's what they call a teaser, folks. That is what they call a teaser. Yeah, we'll definitely have to do this again sometime, guys, and dive into more stuff, because this has been really fun for me. I know it has been for Sean too. Just listening to you guys, because like I said before, this was my childhood right here. Just, and you know, getting the deep dives into some stuff and listening to the stuff you guys talk about was everything I wanted to be a part of as a kid.
Yeah.
So this is a really good opportunity to just be in on those conversations. So it's just been this has been a treat for me.
And like, not for nothing, like, you guys have just been a huge help for not just the show, but like, like, I've known Marat for years, and like, I call him my Yoda, you know, and I used to say, oh, whatever Marat does, I'm like, take crayons and work from there. But like, it's a blessing, and this is phenomenal. So thank you both for this.
My pleasure, man.
Yeah, I see a couple of people saying, can we ever expect a collaboration? And
you know, I would love to do a Connecting Blindside cover that I ink over your pencils and you ink over mine. Like, that should happen.
Yeah. I told you, I think I have it still.
Yeah, well, we can. It's been like 9 years, so I think we can come up with a new. Try hard.
I think a new one would do the trick for sure.
Yeah, and I think we can do what Mike suggested. We could do like the stream.
Oh, dude, that's easy to do. That's easy to do.
So that could be fun.
Hell yeah.
Down some for 2021.
I like it.
Yeah.
I think it would be good.
I've embarrassed Dan into saying yes.
Embarrassed, man. Hell no. Oh no. Brethren.
You keep track of which comments go. There's a top 300 list, but it doesn't track indies or create our own stuff that's crowdfunded. So
yeah, that's true, man. That's a crazy thing, and like what they call a comic, you know, underwear man or whatever, and underpants, Captain Underpants, and like whatever dog. Like they're comics, but they're not comics, you know.
Right.
It's a trip.
Well, I know I don't want to keep everybody too late. We've been talking about an hour and 40 minutes. By the way, I have to say, so Dan, I do want to say, when Dan first came on the show, the first show he was on set a record for the length of the show. And then Marat came on and broke it by, what was it, 20 minutes, I think?
Yeah.
I knew what it was, so I just have to beat that.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
It's good competition.
That's how it is.
Hey, everyone, thank you so much for joining us in the chat. I don't want to cut things off too early, but Dan, I know you're on a schedule, you're on a deadline, you're doing stuff, so I don't want to keep you longer than you have to. And Rot, I know you got a lot of stuff going on too, and it's awesome that you guys decided to spend, you know, an hour and a half or so with us in your busy schedule. So that means a lot to us personally, just to come on our show. And like I said before, it's a real treat to just have you guys on and listen to you guys go back and forth and reminisce and stuff. This has been everything that I've been looking forward to. And
next time you guys could trash on Wildstorm.
Okay.
Yes.
Games we had with those guys. Oh, a little freeway race that almost cost me my life.
Oh, man.
Stories.
All right, more teasers.
That's on the next one. Part 2.
I love it.
Blood Brothers, the Wildstorm years.
There's the title right there. Blood Brothers, Wildstorm years, all the teasers. Oh man, I got chomping at the bit for that show. Damn.
Oh yeah.
So all right, everybody. Before we get out of here, I want to give everybody the chance to do their plugs like we always do. So Marat, we're gonna start with you. Anything you want to plug that you come up, because I know you got a bunch of stuff in the pipeline right now.
And you caught me at the end of the year. I'll have Kickstarters next year. Working on Blindside diligently. Just waiting for Dalso's schedule to clear up a little so we can start slapping the names on there. Outside of that, just enjoying the holidays, kind of running on fumes through this year. But you can follow me on Instagram or at 1200. You can find me on Twitter, but I don't tweet. And then I'm on Facebook. So that's about it.
Wait, what?
I was just gonna say, were you looking at that comment?
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't streamed in weeks.
Oh, okay, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah. No, I have it. Like, I'm gonna go after this. I'm gonna go on Ethan's show for a little bit, but I've been so buried in working and just turning everything off except my work in front of me and my family life. That it is the Phantom Zone. It is the Phantom Zone, man.
Yeah, that makes sense in that context.
But it's a good Phantom Zone. Like I've been learning so much, man. Like that, basically, like I either study, I draw, I eat, or I parent, and that's all I do. And I sleep and poop. There's pooping in there. But that's it. Like streaming, I'll be streaming some more. But as far as what I got going on, if you check out Indiegogo. Black Flag Pineapple Perception. The campaign is still in demand. We're working on that. Going to be bringing that to you beginning of next year, January, late February. Working on bringing some more projects to you. Got a lot of other things in the pipeline. And stay tuned if you're a big fan of YouTube. Check out my YouTube channel, which is just simply Fragaboom, FRAGABOOM. Where I talk about different things. I have a running playlist right now of this thing called Fragtober, where we did a drawing a day for the month of October. some live drawing streams, which I will be bringing back in 2021 once I get a bunch of other stuff off my plate. But it's definitely more important to get the work in front of me done than kick the can down the road.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and you're working hard, man. And I think we're all patiently waiting. I can't wait to see that Black Flag when I get to get it in my hands and read it. It's going to be awesome. And then look forward to book 2, and that's going to be worked on. And
2, 3, 4, and then what happens after that? And that's going to be another big fun thing.
Man, I'm looking forward.
Good times.
Sean, my brother.
Sean Ahrendt across the board. Google me. You'll find dirty shit, but
I was just going to say.
Yeah. Geeks at the Beach on Facebook. Like that page. That would be awesome if you do. And Joe, what about you?
Yep, Joe M. Sonntag or Joe Sonntag. You can find me. Just type that in. All the social medias. YouTube. I'm going to be bringing my channel back now that we're officially going on just the Out and Stuff channel. So I'm going to break my personal Joe M. Sonntag channel back where you can catch all the Out and Stuff shows. I'll repost in there, plus some other stuff I got on there. I've had an old series called Appreciating Comic Book Art where I just look at comics. I'm going to try to bring that back because people seem to enjoy that. And I'm just working hard on Reaper Destroyers coming out. Hopefully I can still reach my deadline and trying to get that out, or at least ready for a campaign in July. So I'm working hard on that. You know, like Dan said, balancing the drawing, the family, and working. So
it's hard. It's not easy.
It is not.
There are moments of anxiety where I wake up and I go, "Oh fuck!"
You and I are like, I got to take care of my dogs.
Yeah.
I'll get depressed sometimes where I'm just like, man, I didn't get a chance to draw tonight, you know, and I'm going to bed. I'm looking at the time, and it's like I got to get up for work in the morning. I didn't get a chance to draw, and I'll start getting like, I feel like something happened, like a dread come over me. Like I'm just like, fuck.
That's
like,
why I keep a sketch pad next to my toilet.
I should do that.
You think I'm kidding?
No, I believe you. I believe you.
I'm making hits while taking shits.
There you go. Look at that.
There you go. All right, everybody. Thank you so much
Next week,
for this tonight.
we have Rob motherfucking Willis.
Rob,
hell yeah, that's a guest.
Yeah, he's good people. Yep. And then the Monday after that, we have Promote Yo Stuff. It's a new show we're doing where you're gonna come on and promote yo stuff. Think like right. Think of like Outcast when you say it.
So, yeah, I can't. It's all you, buddy. You
guys, Jackson.
Yeah, Rob Willis will be the last guest that closes out the year before we jump into 2021, and then we'll have just a fun show, like Sean was saying.
Yeah, can I do a request real quick?
Yeah.
Anybody that's on eBay, stay away from vintage pencils. They're mine. I've been collecting vintage pencils.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, and this, I don't mean this to sound racist. Anybody that starts it off with that, you know, it's going to be bad. No, but right. When it comes to buying a pencil, a legit pencil, made in America actually means something.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. And I'm talking from a guy that has used over 400 different pencils made in China, Philippines, Vietnam, Mexico, and the United States. If it's a pencil company in the United States, they're making pencils because they love it, not because they're trying to make money, which means it's going to be good. Like this one here is called a Tennessee Red. It's made by Musgrave. It's made out of cedar. It's made from cedar.
Cedar?
That? Yeah, cedar, man.
Made out of cedar.
So good. This right here, this is a 1960s Mongol. This is the only thing Neil Adams would draw with.
No shit.
Yeah. These are legit real. This one right here, this is a case of a bad pencil. A good pencil made in a bad way. See how it says Mirando Black Warrior?
Yeah.
If you can find a Mirando Black Warrior that is made by Barrel or Eagle, buy it. Because it was made in the United States. Papermate had bought them and now makes them in Mexico, and they're not as good. So don't get these anymore. And then, of course, these here. I know this is all crazy talk. The Dixon. the Dixon 2225 film marker. It's not a marker, it's a pencil. You can get these for about $5 a pop. These are also vintage. These this and the Mongol are worth the price of admission. And I know it's not the tool that does it. It's the man behind the tool.
Right.
But I'm telling you right now, go sharpen 6 different number 2 pencils and take them all for a spin, and you'll actually see that there is a difference. Marat's got the skeptic look in his eye.
Do they make 2H for this one?
Because he's way more the artiste than I am. I'm like, it's a fucking pencil. I can draw with it. Like that.
The Mongol number 2. Yeah, you could. That's the. What is that? That's a 5mm. What is that?
Yeah, it's thick as shit. Bob Camp said that they make like 2Hs. I can't find it. Like for this type of whatever the fuck this is.
Yeah, 2H is a bit hard, man.
I know. And I'm like, I don't think so. He's like, no, go to Blick Art. But this pencil I got from Adelso. So this came from the Stoop.
Yeah, Adelso knows his shit though, man. Adelso knows his shit though. Like anytime, dude, he's hooked me up with like certain art supply things. Like the camera mount that I use, I learned from Adelso. I know. He's like, I got my Mars Stabler, my fucking Pitt pen. That's a Pitt pen, right? That's a Faber-Castell Pitt pen.
Oh, this is Prismacolor.
Oh, Prismacolor. Okay.
That's it. That's all I got.
Yeah, man.
Just
to each their own, man.
Huh?
There's magic there in the wood, bro.
I might have to look into it. I've been a mechanical or a lead holder guy for most of the time.
I feel like old art supplies, anything pre-70 is smut. It's literally smut, man. You want to get me a Christmas present, get me a vintage 1960s Black Warrior. You know, I don't even care if it's sharpened. You know?
There you go, everybody. You got it. MD Dangerously said Dan just caused the vintage pencil market to skyrocket.
God damn it.
He might have reversed.
Dude, I lost this eBay auction by 50 cents on some Barrel Eagle Black Magics. I put in $33. They said $33.50.
Oh man, that's
God
brutal.
damn you.
That's brutal.
Yeah, I was upset. Because they don't pop up that often. And here's the other thing. If you guys, I'm putting this out to the chat. If you can find photocopies of the John Byrne sketchbook, let a brother know.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Help us out, everybody. Help us out. And I can't afford any of that good stuff anyway. I'm just gonna dream. So I'll look at the photo copies of the stuff I can find on the internet. That's as close as I'll ever get.
Don't say ever.
Well, maybe not ever.
You say
maybe
for now. Ever. You say for now.
No.
I need a Jack Kirby. Here's the thing. I held a Jack Kirby pencil page in my hand that was $3,000, right? And I thought one day, and because I have a pencil, I have a Kirby pencil. Marat knows this. I have a pencil that belonged to Kirby. I have it, okay? And I want to buy a pencil piece to put in a frame along with my pencil that was Kirby's pencil, one of them. And he used wood pencils too, by the way. I want to put it on the wall. Well, I found a piece that I really liked, and it turned out that this one was $26,000. And you just go, God damn it, man! You know, one day though, one day.
One day.
On a piece that I went up to $15,000 for, and it was $24,000 is what it wound up selling for. And I thought
what was it?
It was a jam piece from 2000. Perez had laid it out, and it had Spawn and Spidey by McFarlane. It had a Grifter by Travis. It had a Jim Lee Batman. It had a bunch of. It had George Perez did like The Thing, and I think Hawkeye and Scarlet Witch. And it had all the like Gen 13 characters by Jeff Campbell. And there was still probably like 30 or 40 characters left to do. So I was going to buy it and just have like that was going to be my life project. Like just have at it, you know, Koi Pell, here's a layout for Thor, do the Thor or Walt Simonson or whatever. And, you know,
Yeah.
that was going to be, yeah. So I was like, all right, fuck it. Like, this is going to be it. This is my big purchase. I wouldn't talk to, you know, the little lady. And I was like, I'm thinking about spending 10. She's like, you should go as high as 15. I was like,
nice.
That's why you keep it.
I was like, I went up to 15 and I was like, holy crap, like 15 is not going to do it on this thing for like almost 25 grand. So
Yeah.
sometimes you lose even when you're going to spend big money. So
Yeah.
it happens.
But one
You know?
day, don't
You
ever
gotta-
say never. One
Yeah.
day.
You should really feel bad. You lost your bid by 50 cents. Mine was,
Hey, I'm going to quote Vin Diesel, man. It doesn't matter if it's an inch or a mile. A loss is a loss.
There you go.
we're all number 2 at that point.
If you're not first, you're last, baby.
That's right. Bobby.
Last.
If you ain't first, you're last.
All right, everybody, we're going to end it on that one day. One day, remember that. So thank you so much for joining us. Got 2 legends, extreme legends in the house. It's been an absolute fucking pleasure to have you guys on. And till next time, be good to everybody. Be good to each other. Love everyone. Till next time.
Amen, brother.